So this season, although I personally didn't have great luck, I think it was one of my best seasons ever because I got to do something that every dad looks forward to, and that is I took my son out to hunt for his first sit for him instead of just kind of watching me. So coming into the season, he had talked to me about getting a tag, and we kind of decided what he wanted to use, and it came down to a gun. And he was pretty excited about it, and so was I. It's something that I've looked forward to. He's 8, so about 8 long years of waiting, and finally got to put him in a blind and put him on his own deer. Gotta get the theme song going. Meter turned up?
Yep.
What do you think, buddy? Ready to go?
Yep.
Right here. Hey. So going into our first sit, I had talked to Jaxon and kind of felt him out to see what he was thinking, you know, as far as what his expectations were. I explained to him that there's no guarantee that you're ever gonna, you know, see a monster deer or anything. And his biggest thing is he just wanted to go out and sit. So as we were getting ready to walk in for our first hunt, we noticed a couple of does off in the distance. Decided our best route was to hug the fence line real tight, and we wound up setting up under a couple of cedar trees, and got pretty comfortable underneath them and sat and waited to see what was going to come in. So we were sitting there, and it didn't take very long for them to these two does kind of work their way in, and they got within 20-30 yards, and Jaxon was pretty excited, but he kept his calm, and he told me a couple of times, he says, "Dad, I'm waiting for him to stand still." I said, "All right, buddy." So we waited, and they never did quite stand still. They just kind of walked around in front of us and then jumped the fence behind us a little ways down. So for being the first hunt, it was pretty exciting. I was real proud that he was able to control himself enough to not pull the trigger just right off the bat.
And Jaxon's on the bigger of the two does. She's kind of moving across pretty quick, so I didn't get a real clear shot on her. He was ready to. He had the red dot right on her shoulder. Just couldn't make it happen.
So the next time we were able to get out to hunt just so happened to be the last day of Iowa's youth season. And we decided, me and Ian had talked about it a little bit, we decided to go out to a farm that always produced, always had deer on it. Natalie actually killed a couple of deer on it. It was the same farm I'd taken my wife Danica on, and she got her deer there. So we went out and got set up in a spot where we knew there was gonna be deer to come in front of us or off to one of our sides, within a good shooting range for Jaxon. So we got set up in our blind. As the night went on, there was some deer came out in the field, and there actually wound up being a nice 6-point basket rack. And he came in, took him a while to kind of give us a shot, and when Jaxon was finally able to get a good broadside shot, he shot just behind him. After Jaxon missed, it was kind of a bummer, but he kept his spirits up. He was pretty excited. He looked at me, he said, "Dad, it's still early, so can we keep sitting?" I said, "All right, buddy, we'll keep sitting." At that point, we'd had probably half hour, 45 minutes of light left. And just down to the last 5-10 minutes, we had what we thought were 2 does come up into the field for us. So Jaxon picked out the biggest doe and was lined up on her. And all of a sudden he told me there was a buck in the field. I was looking around, and the second deer that we thought was a doe had its head down, so I didn't see antlers or anything. And I kind of looked at Ian, and Ian just kind of shrugged and said okay, because neither of us had seen the antlers. So Jaxon took his time, just dropped it in his tracks.
I got it! Yes.
You got it, buddy.
Jax, that boy.
You got it.
That boy, Jax.
Oh, oh man. Are you shaking like I am?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Can you go get him now?
Huh?
Can you go get him now?
Let's give him. I'm gonna try and calm him down a little bit. Yeah. Buddy. Good job, bud. Oh, man.
Ever deer down.
So we gave it a couple of minutes, and Jaxon was just stoked beyond belief. And we finally got out of the blind and started walking up. I looked at Ian a couple of times, and neither of us could see any antlers. And it was right when we got on top of it and Jaxon lifted the head for the first time, he wound up, it was a young spike. But you'd swear by his expressions and his reaction that he just shot the biggest deer in all of Iowa.
What do you think, dude?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
For my first deer, it was a buck.
He didn't even run nowhere. You didn't give him a chance.
It was pretty awesome to kind of see his reaction, and honestly it made me feel like it was my very first hunt too, just kind of through him. And you know, that's what it's all about, taking kids out, letting them shoot, you know, what's gonna make them happy and enjoying the time with them.
Fall of 2020, what a crazy year it's been. COVID has put a lockdown on everything, including hunting, because we have priorities. But youth season rolled around, and we had such a great time planning, sighting in guns, getting Drake and Morgan both set up for their youth hunts. And we knew it was going to be a tough year with sports, because Drake's in football, Morgan was in volleyball, basketball, and gymnastics. So we had a busy fall. We were going to get out as often as we could and not press too hard. If they didn't get anything killed during youth season, we would be able to go later on in the year and go shotgun season. This first hunt, we went out to some public ground here in Iowa, which is, it's our ground. So everybody gets the opportunity to hunt this ground. And we walked a long ways back in there, and Drake had made the call of where we were gonna go. It was his hunt. And so the first night we sat down in this bottom part of the field, and we saw, 12, 13 does, fawns, and the wind was great for us, but no bucks. Fast forward a week and went to the different end of the field and set up hoping these bucks were coming out on this other end.
Once we got there, we set up, and about half an hour, maybe an hour into it, we had some does come out. I thought they were just gonna walk right by and not notice us. And then here comes one that is looking right at us. And she circles downwind and she snorts. And she runs off with the rest of them. And I thought for sure that night was over. A little bit later, my dad told me, big buck on the left. And I looked, and I couldn't see it. And he told me, it's there. So I kept looking, and there it was, just standing there, broadside.
Hurry up. Tell me when you're on him.
My gun was shaking so much because my heart was racing. And at that point, my dad told me to calm down.
Tell me whenever you're ready. Get
That felt good.
It looked good. It looked good. It looked good. What did I just tell you? What did I just say?
That it can happen at any moment.
In a second. It can happen in a second. Just like that. It happened. And I think you smoked him. We'll have to watch the footage back, but I think you just smoked him. Head was down. That was a good shot. That's a nice deer. That's a really nice deer. Oh my God.
When I went running down the hill, by the time I saw the buck, I was already covered in stick tights. They were a pain to get off when I got home.
Here he is. He went about 60 yards. Blood trail was great, no problem. Pretty good one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Drake knew it was a decent buck, but he wasn't quite sure if it was this nice, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Drake had actually wrestling practice that day, so Morgan was up to bat. She got up early, had all of her camos and orange and everything all laid out, ready to go. We planned on sitting for as long as we could because we knew the deer in that area would be pushed around by other hunters. So we got in a good spot and just sat there. As we were sitting there, she was getting very impatient, and I keep telling her, like I always tell my son, it could happen in a second. It could happen at any minute, and the moment you let your guard down is when something's gonna come out. And it did, and it caught me off guard. He come down off the hill, crossed the terrace, never stopped, and took off running away from us, never knew we were there. And I actually grunted him to a stop at 75 yards, and he turned broadside, and Morgan pulled the trigger. She was on him, ready to go. So it was the largest deer that I had seen in that area in probably 2 years, and her first deer of her life was a phenomenal animal. As soon as I saw this deer come over the hill, I was like, holy crap. And when he stopped broadside, he might have been quartering a little bit. We'll have to look. She hit him on this side. Wow. I'm still in shock.